12th and final round of the VP Racing SportsCar Challenge Series for 2025. Championship pretty much done and dusted. One still alive. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I'm Brian Sill, along with Ryan Marine. We'll have all the action for you today from right here at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Chilly morning. That means it's going to take a little while to get some temperature and pressure in these Michelin tires, and it could be a little bit of a skating rink, I would think, here on the first couple of laps. A little bit of breeze, bright sunshine, that'll warm up the track pretty quickly, and the action will get going. I think the great thing is, with championships pretty much decided, there is no risk, and it's all reward today, Ryan. You want to go for that victory.
Yeah, for the first time really all season, the drivers can race unfettered without thinking about points, without thinking about championships. And with that in mind, I think we're in for some fireworks here today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. There's absolutely no pressure of the championship looming over your shoulders. Yesterday, take it back to race number one, check out a couple of highlights there. Yesterday, kind of a little different bit of a ball game, as you see at the beginning, Oscar Tuno aboard the number 30 from Gebhardt. Welcome back to the series. He does it in high style, pole, and then jumps out to a big lead.
Great battle throughout the middle portion of the race. Adam Adelson jumped to the front in GTDX, but goes a little wide at the exit of the hairpin. That opens the door for Jake Walker to come through and take the lead, a lead he would not relinquish.
And those two fighting in GTDX all season long. Tuno takes the victory. As I said, welcome back. It had been since Canadian Tire Motorsport Park that we had seen Oscar, and then Kiko Porto gets it done in GSX.
Fantastic season for Kiko, yet another race win, and Jake Walker, what a streak he's on. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be enough. As long as Adam Adelson starts this race today, the championship is his, but you can't take away from the effort of Jake Walker and the Turner team. This win streak they are on is remarkable.
They've been almost perfect. Keyword almost, because it all went wrong in the first race weekend of the season. Absolutely 0 points in race number one at Daytona, and then minimal points in race number two, and that really is the difference in the championship. Take a look at the starting grid on the left side of the screen as cars now behind the pace car. Yesterday we ran one pace lap, race in the afternoon, bright sunshine on the racetrack, and track temperature up. I think the officials have elected today we'll run two. The clock will start as we begin the second lap, or if you want to think of it at the end of the first lap. We were talking about that earlier, Ryan. When does it start? But the clock will start there as they begin the second lap. So they'll have one lap essentially under yellow, but it gives them another lap to get temp and pressure in the Michelin tires. Really
smart decision, I think, from the interest of safety. We also have an extra bit of time for the drivers to assess track conditions. Leaves have blown out onto the track from some blustery wind overnight. It's definitely fall. You can feel it in the air when you arrive at the racetrack here this morning, and then there's evidence of it on the ground with some of the foliage starting to drop off the trees as well.
55 degrees, track temp of 70, and that is really, really cool. Yesterday we were in the high 90s as far as track temperature went, and that track temp, it makes a world of difference in how quickly the tires get up to both temperature and pressure. Two obviously very related. As the temperature comes up, the pressure builds. And you got to remember and keep in mind that that tire pressure is essentially part of the suspension. It's a spring rate, right?
No question about it. And that's going to be variable, of course, in the early stages of this event, as they're still building the pressure in those tires, that as they heat up, the pressure grows, the air expands, and consequently you start your pressures lower to account for what will happen after you have some extended running. But it takes a little time to get there, especially on a cool morning and on a cool racetrack.
Yes, that's right. It's your science lesson for the day with Professor Marine.
I haven't taken a science class in a while, so maybe don't go off of every single word that I just said. But I think the bare bones of it are roughly in the right place.
I think the outline form was correct. Look at the shade still on the racetrack as well. In the braking zone, that dive down to the braking zone of 10, still very much in the shade. I think track temperatures there probably even less than the 70 degrees that we were seeing a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's I typically, when you see those track temperatures, it's an average from temperatures taken at various points around the track, so you will see some variance. And again, this is all part of these sighting laps here for the drivers to get a sense for what kind of grip is available and where, what kind of obstacles might have arrived on the track in the form of those leaves, things of that nature. What has changed since these guys were on track yesterday? As you can see, though, the clock has started. This is the second of those pace laps, and as soon as they come around the next time, it'll be time to go green for the final time in 2025.
And what a great racetrack. Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. I first came here. I'm going to throw out the date. You're going to tell me you weren't born. It was in 1980, and it hasn't changed very much. The challenge of it still exists.
Yeah, you preceded me by about 8 years.
We don't need to.
No, we won't dwell on that. But it is an amazing venue. Turn 1, super high commitment, leads to the S's, really technical section. Then down to turn 6 and 7. Good passing opportunity, but crucial to get off of turn 7 well with that run down to turn 10. That's the part of the track that's changed in your lifetime, Brian.
Yeah, that's really the only thing that's different, that turn 10A, 10B complex there. It used to just be a bending left-hand turn and a super fast corner underneath the Fox Factory Bridge up there at turn 10. But tell you what, the rest of it, the personality of the racetrack has stayed the same. There's a little bit more runoff in certain areas and that kind of stuff, but the personality of the track has stayed the same, and I think that's the thing that's magical about this racetrack. As you said, it's up and down. Turn 1 to turn 5 is like being on a roller coaster. You go up, you come down, you twist right, left, and from a driver's perspective, it's really hard to get a car to work everywhere around this racetrack. High compression in turn 1, super low speed in turn 7.
Sure, the setup that you want in a certain sector of the track is the opposite of what you're going to want in another, which makes it an engineering nightmare, but part of the challenge and one of the reasons why the challenge is revered. I think turn 12 as well is quite daunting, right? You crest that hill and it's totally blind, and then it's the big plunge down, high commitment right-hander onto the front straightaway, coming to the start-finish line. That's where we're headed here in just a few short moments.
P3 category up front, and then a slight gap back to the GT cars. GTDX, GT3-based machinery, and GSX, GT4-based machinery. Great series that you can learn your way about multi-class sports car racing. Waiting for that start zone, and they've been told it's down around the apex curb of the final corner is when the pole sitter can go. The 31, the purple 31, Oscar Tunjo, yesterday's race winner, on pole, gets to the curb, and he is on it. We're racing.
As he did yesterday. Great jump by Tunjo, the pole sitter. The challenge is for the third spot. His teammate in the champion-elect, Valentino Catalano, coming under threat momentarily, able to hang on to second place. And now, Brian, the fight is for third and fourth.
I'll tell you what, the other thing that's going to be interesting, at least on the opening lap, is GTDX cars just behind. Traction control, anti-lock brakes. The prototypes don't have that, so we could see, and we already do in turn 4, prototypes coming under attack from GTDX machinery.
Yeah, Adam Adelson read it beautifully, so he and Walker are both clear of the back of the LMP3 field, but it's a change in position. Walker, for the second straight day, starting on pole, but loses the lead on the opening lap, and it's Adelson in the Porsche now, the champion-elect by virtue of starting this race. That was the last championship that needed to be decided. He claims that top spot, and we talked about it yesterday. He doesn't have to think big picture anymore. It's time for him to go and look for that third win of the year.
It is. Now, the P3 cars are going to be a little bit faster down the straightaway, but when they get to this heavy braking zone down in turn 10A, Adam Adelson, he needs to play this right, because if he gets stacked up at the apex there, Walker may have a shot. Walker looks to the inside, nothing doing. Adelson covers it a bit, and a little bit of tire smoke from the prototype just in front. That was the 87, Farhan Siddiqui, with just a little lockup on that right front.
Just his second start in an LMP3 here in VP Racing SportsCar Challenge for Farhan Siddiqui, and that is the next puzzle that Adam Adelson needs to resolve here. I misspoke, by the way. He's seeking his fourth win of the season, does have 3, and has been a fixture on the podium pretty much all year, just killing them with consistency, even with Jake Walker going on this remarkable 5-race win streak.
Tell you what, Adam Adelson wants temperature in the Michelin tires, and not on his car. He wants it of the 2 prototypes that are in front of him, because now he's in a difficult position. We have a problem there. That was the 53.
Yeah, John Braille, who was on the podium yesterday in his debut. That is a wild ride. Look at that opposite lock.
Great save, great work by our camera operators. Meanwhile, back to this battle. Adam Adelson gets stacked up there down through the S's into turn 5, and then the prototypes pull out a little bit between 5 and 6. But his concern now has got to be in the rearview mirror. Jake Walker all over the back of that Porsche.
Yeah, Jake was threatening in this part of the racetrack yesterday, although it took a miscue from Adam really to open the door. They did this a few times, side by side into the chicane. Oh, cooler heads prevailed there. That could have ended in tears.
But I'll tell you what, yesterday Adam Adelson may have gone ahead and said, go ahead, Jake, I'm not going to risk my car for this. Today, nothing doing. It's going to be a lot more difficult for Jake Walker to find a way by, as long as Adam doesn't make the mistake like he did yesterday.
Exactly, totally agree. Great to see Adam not have to think about that championship. He locks it up and now gets to race without that pressure, that burden on his shoulders. And certainly it is a remarkable achievement for Adam, one he was really looking forward to, the chance to win a title as a solo driver in a GT3 car. There are not many series in the world where you get to do that.
Tell you what, you see that little puff of smoke out of the 87 just in front of him. That's going to be concerning for Adam. They pulled out a little bit of a gap, so it's one of those deals where he can focus forward. But there you see that lockup again coming into turn 3. I believe that's Siddiqui again. And every time you see that, you're Adam Adelson, you're like, is he going around? Is it just lockup? Is he going to go straight? Is he coming back to me again, and now I'm going to have to deal with him down through the S's? He wants them to clear out so that he can focus on his race.
Right, it's disconcerting when you see that puff of smoke and then you risk target fixation. You see it, you stare at it, maybe it causes you to miss your turning point by half a meter or something like that, and that makes all the difference. This time Walker wasn't quite as far alongside, flashes those headlights, trying to get into the head of Adam Adelson, but nothing doing.
I'll tell you, the mistake yesterday that cost Adam the position and ultimately the win was there in the braking zone for turn 7. I think he did exactly what you were just saying. Miss your braking marker by half a meter or so, and then all of a sudden you're off at the exit. You've got a mile an hour or two too much through the apex, can't hold the exit. Tell you what, he filed that away in his brain, though. That mistake won't happen again today. It's easier to back him up a little bit at the entry to 7 and get the run off, and I'm sure that's what he's going to focus on today.
Yeah, lesson learned for today's race, but also for tomorrow's race. The big show, of course, is both of these drivers will be racing in Motul Petit Le Mans, the main event here at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, this time of year. And for both, this is a really important tune-up to get in the groove, get the feel of traffic flow, albeit here they're the middle class. On tomorrow they'll be at the bottom of the pecking order in GTD, but it still is valuable track experience.
Well, and we talked about this yesterday. When you look at the schedule, VP Racing SportsCar Challenge gives drivers like Adelson and Jake Walker. As Walker looks again, Adelson covers it in the brake zone for turn 10. Nothing doing there. Walker, though, all over the back of that Porsche, and I believe the BMW seems to be a better consistent car over the long run, but limited track time. You know, today when you look at the WeatherTech Championship, there's not going to be a lot of track time for Adam Adelson or Jake Walker, so this is their track time, and this is a completely different racetrack. This is more like the track is going to be tomorrow for Motul Petit Le Mans, so they're going to get some time out on that cold racetrack. This is great experience for them.
No question about it. That's why they view VP Racing SportsCar Challenge as an important component of the racing program. It's a great tune-up for them, great tune-up for the teams. They can try things out on the VP Challenge cars from a setup perspective, and although the BOP is slightly different between the cars here in the WeatherTech Championship, I've been told that it's negligible, the difference, and you can really use this as an extra test session, essentially. Plus, of course, the chance to go race and win in your own right.
It wasn't much, but it was a couple of feet off of the apex for Adam Adelson in turn 7 that time, and we talked about stacking up Jake Walker at the entry and getting the good run off. I don't think Adam Adelson did that time. This is the best position Walker's had.
Yeah, good eye. This time he is almost fully in front of the braking zone, but look at Adam, deep on those brakes. Still a little bit of overlap, though, and wow, that was super close. Didn't look like Jake got the best run out of the second part of the chicane, and he has to settle back in.
Great stuff, and you can tell just how on the limit both of these drivers are. It was the tiniest margin of error for Adam Adelson just off the apex, and it's what gave Walker the opportunity.
Well, Adam's been a busy guy this year, dual programs here at IMSA, but also has done a little bit of racing overseas, did the 24 Hours of Spa. did a GT World Challenge Europe weekend at the Nürburgring as well. So all that seat time is valuable. When you've been door to door all year long, it prepares you for moments like these.
Tell you what, that's where Walker could have come back across in front and just said, okay, I'm going to take the position away. But you risk being hit from behind in the brake zone if you surprise that driver. So great driving by both of those. That may be the best opportunity Walker gets.
Well, it might be. We'll see. Looked like Adam maybe was a little wide again, but was able to gather it up nicely. Gets a good run out. Oh,
no.
Man, Stephen Clemens with some issues. Second day in a row.
It's the left rear.
Yeah. This is what we saw yesterday. Puncture left rear. Very odd. Oh, wow, another overlap there. Walker again taking a lunge at Adelson.
I feel like we're watching replays from yesterday
Totally.
or from a lap or two ago. Clemens with the same bad luck, same tire. We thought it was a suspension component yesterday because it looked askew. And the battle now here between Adam Adelson and Jake Walker, Porsche versus BMW, man, cut and paste, lap to lap. And you got to believe Jake Walker's just going to try to wear down Adam Adelson. And the BMW, to me, Ryan, looks like it is the better car in the long run, like I said, just a lap or two ago.
Here we go again. This is one lap ago. Again, Walker close, gets alongside, maybe holds his braking a little bit later that time to try and stay alongside the Porsche, but Adelson, not an easy guy to get around. Really, really stout defense.
And Walker with that good run off the corner. Adam Adelson, not a bad run that time. Could be that the BMW has maybe a kilometer or two in straight line advantage down the straightaway, but with the way Adam Adelson places that Porsche, he's not blocking, he's not moving in response, he's just being a pest and placing it where Jake Walker wants that BMW to be.
Just a quick note on the Stephen Clemens situation. A similar issue as we talked about yesterday, only finished in 7th, and although the championship is out of reach, he was in a really tight fight for 2nd place. And as they run, he would lose the 2nd position in the championship to Ian Porter, who clinched a bronze subcategory championship yesterday. In his debut season, he's been really impressive, and he might finish 2nd overall as they run.
So disappointing for Stephen Clemens, that BSI team. They have done such a great job this season. A couple of wins. They had a great run at Daytona and then had a fuel problem in the latter laps. But the team has been so strong, and Clemens and Kiko Porto had just a whale of a battle in both races at Virginia International Raceway. Just really, really odd that the same tire, same corner of the car presents the same problem 2 races in a row here. Good battle up front. This is for the lead. Oscar Tunjo has it, and your champion in 2025 in P3 wants it. Valentino Catalano. Now these two drivers teammates over in Europe, and Catalano now has 2 championships in the P3 category, 1 in Europe, 1 here now. They know each other well. They know this Duquesne chassis well, and we talked about for Catalano, there is absolutely no pressure of a championship. He can go for it. Just don't hit your teammate.
Yeah, that's what they're thinking about at this point. Let's cap off the season with another 1-2 result. This Gebhardt team has emerged as the class of the field. They really stamped their intentions early at Daytona. This is a big step, though, for Catalano today. He's been trailing his teammate all weekend long. Yesterday, you compare their best laps of the race, it was about a half a second between the two of them. Not so here on day number 2. Catalano is within a 1/10 of a second in terms of best lap of Oscar Tunjo, and that's allowed him to keep close tabs on the race leader and maybe mount a challenge here in the final 30 minutes.
Be interesting to see if he can, and it shows you just how quick the P3 cars are. That's the 68 of Ian Porter that they just went by 2nd in the GSX category, like you were talking about, Ryan, after the problems for Stephen Clemens. And nothing has changed in GTDX. The yellow still filling the mirrors of Adam Adelson, that Turner Motorsport BMW in the hands of Jake Walker. He's got another good run into the brake zone of turn 10A.
Oh, here he comes around the outside. Will he sweep across the bow this time? Nope, he keeps the door propped open just a tad. It allows Adelson to fight back here. He didn't get a good jump the last time. This time it was a little bit better, and they're still side by side.
No, I think he's going to get it this time. As you come down the hill, that inside car usually has the advantage, but Adam Adelson will not go quietly. Wow, good stuff. Great racing, side by side, no contact, and it is not over.
No, Adelson is strong in this section of the racetrack. Pokes his nose to the outside, filling the mirrors of Jake Walker. Maybe thought about taking a lunge, didn't do it. Now they do have some traffic up ahead. That could open the door yet again for Adelson to counterattack.
Absolutely, this traffic is going to come into play, and Walker needs to read it well. Adam Adelson with momentum coming off turn 5. Can he do anything with it? Walker around the high side, Adam Adelson to the low side of the number 5.
Looks like Walker read it pretty nicely.
Yeah,
it really wasn't held up too much, certainly no more than Adelson himself was. And now this is the section of the track we've seen the BMW so stout throughout the weekend. Now that he's ahead, Jake Walker can finally breathe a sigh of relief, maybe take an inhale for the first time in the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think he used that traffic to gain a little bit of an advantage, but once he's now past Adelson, I think we're going to see the performance of that BMW really stand out. He should be able to pull away, I believe. I think he's had the faster car all along.
All weekend, really, he's been the pace setter. If you look at the practice sessions, you got to throw practice 1 out to some degree because it was held in damp conditions. There had been overnight rain that left the track somewhat damp, and it was kind of around this time of day, actually, so the track was reluctant to dry out in a quick fashion, so a lot of folks didn't really go out or didn't turn any representative laps. But from that point on, Walker has been the class of the field, except on the starts of races. That's where Adelson's been able to get the jump. Yeah. Day 1 now and day 2 as well. And what a fight, though, between these two all weekend, really all season long.
Well, and they've been the epitome of class and the example of what sports car racing should be. Really, the entire series. We talked about Kiko Porto and Steve Clemens with their battles at VIR. It's to some extent, well, not to a large extent, what the officials in the WeatherTech Championship want to see. We know how they had to come down on the drivers, and this has been the example of, hey, you can race GT3 machinery without beating and banging on each other. These guys are doing it right here.
Yeah, you could have multi-class racing without an overwhelming amount of contact, as we have seen quite often throughout the season. It has been a good year in so many respects. It's been a great year, though, for this young man. Kiko Porto, 2021 USF 2000 champ, made the switch to sports cars last year, Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and now jumping into this GT4 car here in the GSX class this year, and he has been dominant.
Where's he going?
I wish I knew. He wouldn't tell me. But he had a big smile on his face when I asked. So I think the plan is more or less in place, whatever it is. My suspicion is that it would be within the Toyota family and likely within this Rafa Racing family as well. And they are far flung all over the place, so that really doesn't narrow it down too much, does it?
No, it doesn't. And, you know, if you're this team, you don't want this driver to get away. And if you're Toyota, you don't want him to get away. A pleasure on the racetrack and off. His professionalism is exemplary. And when you talk to him, when you watch him race, like we were talking about, just the ultimate professional, and that's pretty impressive considering his age. So, yeah, I think a future star in sports car racing right there. And I just feel like these days, Ryan, too, we're seeing a lot of young drivers make the decision very early in their career. Hey, the open wheel route is a more narrow channel, and there are less opportunities there, and there are more manufacturer opportunities and more opportunities in general in sports car racing, and that's why we're seeing drivers like Kiko Porto here in the IMSA paddock.
I actually had this conversation with Kiko one time, I think it was last year, where not only are the opportunities more manifold to make a career, but you also have the chance to race in some incredible events. If you go the IndyCar route, you get one Indy 500. If you go the IMSA route, you get the Rolex 24. You get Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, Salem 6 Hours of the Glen, this great event, Motul Petit Le Mans. Plus, then you have all those overseas options to race in big, meaningful, historic events. And when Kiko was telling me about that, he had a huge smile on his face, saying, this isn't a backup plan. This is a great place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a decision that, as we said, a lot of drivers are seeing now, and the opportunities that exist. Great point. Especially with manufacturer involvement, it's not just a North America option. It's a worldwide option.
Yeah, maybe more so than it ever has been, right? With a global GT4 platform, a global GT3 platform, and now global prototype regulations as well, which has manufacturers involved on a global wholesale basis in a way that we really haven't seen, certainly that I can recall.
Jake Walker aboard the number 6, the BMW from Turner Motorsport, and why not turn that 6 upside down, make it 9, because if he wins today, it'll be 9 wins on the season for Jake Walker, and it looks like it's going to take a mechanical issue to take that win away. I'm not going to give it to him yet. We still have 24 minutes to go, but he has been spectacular, and again, you see the closing rate between the two GT classes as Walker goes around Ian Porter, who is second in GSX, but it just gives you the idea of how much quicker the GT3 based machinery is than the GT4 based machinery.
Now Walker's just been chipping away at it as they run. The gap would be down to 150 points, and you just think if he'd even started race 1 at Daytona, chances are that would be a negligible margin, but ifs and buts. That's not the way it works in motorsports, unfortunately, for Jake. So despite all the wins, looks like he's going to come up short in the title chase. Meanwhile, Oscar Tunho working traffic, overall leader here, flashing those headlights to make sure the traffic knows he's coming through. That was awfully tight, but they do manage to make it. That opens the door. This is how multi-class racing gives and takes, because that then opens it up a chance in this GSX battle that's happening in the background.
Yeah, you look at that, the 5 of Angus Rogers there with Frank Depew side by side. But I think the other thing, and it's a point that we've made before, and you saw it right there, this is education for these drivers. If you want to move up, if you want to go to Michelin Pilot, if you want to go to WeatherTech, where there are prototypes and GT machinery, you've got it right here. It's just at a slightly slower pace. It's like a baseball player, little league, high school, college, pro. It's the same game. It just gets played at a higher speed.
Yeah, that's why you stash your draft picks often in AA or AAA to start their pro careers, get them up to speed, used to the speed of professional baseball, and then bring them up to the majors. Yeah, exactly right. And this has worked so well within the IMSA paddock for years, promoting drivers and teams and mechanics through the ranks. And when this championship took its current form a couple of years ago, I do think it filled a niche where there wasn't that multi-class racing with prototypes, with multiple different types of cars all mixed together. That's the best way to prepare for the WeatherTech Championship. This was thrown together, and I think especially with GTDX joining here this year, it's a great facsimile for what the drivers and teams will face at the top level when they do make that jump up to the WeatherTech Championship in years to come. Bad news, sorry, Brian, for 76, that Stephen Clemens, that car is behind the wall. So he is out, and that means as they run, he would lose second place in points with such a frustrating final weekend, in many ways mirroring the frustrating opening weekend of the season that he had.
Very much so. You've got to believe that something is amiss on that car that the team just didn't catch, and perhaps a little bit of sidewall flex, getting into a piece of bodywork or whatever, cut the tire down. So as Tunho flashes by, I was interested in the battle that was right there behind him in GTDX. You saw Samantha Tan and her BMW has gotten past Kyle Washington aboard his GMG Porsche as they head into turn 1. Samantha Tan wrapped up the bronze championship in GTDX yesterday.
She did. She also had the fastest lap of the race in GTDX, regardless of the bronze subcategory or the overall combination of the 4 cars. And that's the first time all season that she has notched that achievement. Plenty of experience in these BMW M4 GT3s in various championships, but it's been a lot of new tracks for her this year. It's been a new tire for her to learn, new paddock, and again, the multi-class racing with the prototype coming through is something she's not had a tremendous amount of experience with in the past, but it's been a good, solid year for her and for the team, and I'm curious to see what the next step is for them.
I think they've done such a good job when you look at Samantha's rise up through the ranks, and there's a little bit of an idea of understanding prototype stuff and kind of losing the track of the car. You can see why it would be easy. The prototype's so low, I think she lost sight of it for just a moment. A little awkward moment there, but her progression has been really, really impressive over the last 2, 3, 4 seasons.
Right, I think you can go back a little further even. I mean, she started in touring cars, very much production-based cars, and I give them credit too for working their way up slowly but surely, not skipping a rung on the ladder, taking their time to get to that place, from the touring cars into GT4, from GT4 into GT3, trying a couple different championships out. She's gone and raced in Europe, raced a few different types of GT3 cars, programs in the States, and at every step, she just keeps raising her game.
Well, they did it right. There's no hurry.
Right.
I mean, one step at a time, one step at a time. For Kyle Washington, he didn't have a lot of time on the racetrack problems, and we look at modern race cars, there are so many electronics in them. That was the bug for his GMG team with this Porsche. Didn't get it out on the racetrack. He had very little time on track.
Oh, how frustrating his start to the weekend. We mentioned that practice one, and a bunch of cars didn't bother to go out. He tried to, even in those damp conditions, but there was some kind of a technical issue with that car that caused him to stop on track. It was towed back to the paddock, and then the car never made it back out until the race yesterday. So that was an awful lot for him to try and digest in a short amount of time. He's getting more and more comfortable. They're starting to get the car dialed in here this weekend.
Problem is the weekend's over.
Yep.
So it's one of those deals where every lap around the racetrack, you find a better way, right? You get a little more comfortable. And for a driver who doesn't make their living doing this, it takes a few more laps, a little bit more time to get there. And when you lose that track time with mechanical issues, that's a problem. This battle between Angus Rogers and Frank Depew been going on for the last several laps now. Porsche versus Aston Martin.
Yesterday, Angus had a good result. In fact, his best of the season, finished 4th. Frank Depew, we thought, had a top 5 finish as well when we signed off, but post-race technical inspection revealed an infraction below minimum mass is how it was worded, which, if you've been around longer than I have, I've never seen that before.
You didn't need to point that out, but no, I have not seen below minimum mass before. I've seen below weight, but mass, yeah.
I guess it's comparable. We already established I haven't taken science in a while, so I'm not entirely sure I could distinguish the nuanced difference between the two. But the end result means it's not really all that important, because he lost that great result and was put back to the back of the class.
A lap or two ago, Depew into the rear bumper of Angus Rogers and moves him a little bit. And if he got the position, I don't think he did, race control may have had something to say about that.
Yeah, agreed. But they do come out on the other side and continue this battle, which they had going pretty much the whole race yesterday, too. They finished 4th and 5th a day ago. Those are the positions they're fighting for here today. And it goes to show, as long as you can find somebody to fight, you can have a lot of fun in a motor race.
Well, it was interesting, too. I think that was the quintessential, looking here at prototype battle. Thought there might have been a position change, but we'll let that go. That battle into 10, when Frank Depew got into the back of Angus Rogers, it was all set up with the prototype coming by. I think Angus Rogers had to stay on the brakes a little bit longer to let the prototype clear, and when he did, Frank Depew just didn't read it well. Boom, into the back of him. No harm, no foul. I'm sure Angus Rogers was like, hey, what the heck was that? But they continue on, no position change. So, like I said, just another one of those ebb and flows of multi-class racing.
Well, Frank's another one using this as a warm-up to some degree. He'll be in the Michelin Pilot Challenge race coming up later on today. Racing with Robin Liddell in that Rebel Rock team for their first win of the season. And as it was told to me, in their lengthy history racing in Pilot Challenge, that team has not gone a season without a win. And that's what they're staring down the barrel of right now, if they don't get it done later on this afternoon.
Yeah, that would be strange. I'll tell you what, great feeder series for young drivers coming in. We're looking at the #1 of Alexander Christensen. He made his debut at VIR with 2 second-place finishes in the P3 category. He's got a good run in the top 5 going. But the other driver that I'm impressed with is Fakiri there in the 80. relatively unknown to us here in the States, showed up and got in this car. First time in a P3 car, I believe. First time here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and a great job, great performance, and finds himself running third today, not that far off the lead pack.
Yeah, exactly. Coming without hardly any tin-top experience, has done a little bit of TCR racing in Brazil, but Vicuri primarily an open-wheel driver, various open-wheel series, USF4, USF Juniors, as well as USF 2000 the last handful of years. He's made a lot of starts, but still kind of at the early stages of his development. It takes this opportunity to jump into this LMP3 Ligier and test the waters of sports car racing a little bit. As we were talking about earlier, this is another driver that might see this as a pathway for a lengthy career as a racing driver.
Tell you what, I think the big change for drivers like Lucas Vicuri coming in here, you talked about F4 cars, F3 cars, that kind of stuff. This car has considerably more power, now it weighs more, so the power to weight ratio may not be that difference, but the downforce that it has and the faith that you have to have, it's got more tire underneath it. That Michelin tire, it's a catalog tire, you can buy it, but it's a tire that is bigger, wider, has more grip than he's used to, throw in the aerodynamics of the P3 car, and there's a learning curve there. When you make that change into a higher downforce car, as a driver, you've got to learn to disseminate between grip created by downforce and mechanical grip, and sometimes the line gets very blurred.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be confusing to try and grasp the concept in real time, but once you get it, downforce is a pretty amazing thing and lets you do some remarkable things with the race car. I mean, you went through some of these same transitions in your career, going from open wheel cars to tin tops and from downforce cars to cars that maybe more grip mechanically. How difficult did you find that, bouncing around and getting acclimated with the different platforms?
I found the rise through downforce cars to be relatively easy. I found the move from downforce cars to not a lot of downforce car, like a Trans Am car, was much more challenging because you get spoiled real quickly with several thousand pounds of downforce, right? So then you step into a car that doesn't have it, and all of a sudden you have to think about not only the amount of grip that you have, but downforce helps with conservation of tires and all that other kind of stuff. When the car slides around, it doesn't matter how good the tire is, you're going to wear it out a little bit quicker, and so you've got to be a little more sympathetic. Problem for one of the P3 cars, the 87.
Farhan Siddiqui.
Yep. Problem with contact yesterday.
That's right.
Like you said, this is, we were talking about making steps. This is new for him, this P3 car.
It is. We saw him at Daytona in GSX, so a GT4-based car. He's been dabbling in GT3 racing in various series over the course of 2025, and now trying out, as you point out, the downforce car in the LMP3. This is a look at what happened. That was a close call for the trailing GT4 car.
And remember the tire smoke we saw early in the brake zone, early in the race in the brake zones, and then you see it there. I'm wondering if he didn't flat spot one or more of those tires early in the going. And what I mean by that is when you lock the brakes, the tire stops rolling, it just kind of files it off into a little flat spot, and then you're much more likely to roll to that spot the next time, and the next time, and the next time.
It never gets better.
Worse. No, it does not get better.
Not a pleasant experience, to say the least, and does feel like he's been able to recover, pushing on with just under 11 minutes to go.
For Oscar Tuno, another great weekend going, and I look to 2026 in VP Racing SportsCar Challenge, and what I see on the horizon is more P3 cars, and perhaps I think we're going to see more GTE X cars as well, but a different P3 car than what we see this year.
Yeah, that's the exciting thing. Globally, we've seen the debut of the new LMP3 regs. They've been racing in the European Le Mans Series. They've been racing in Michelin Le Mans Cup, but they will be eligible for this championship, VP Racing SportsCar Challenge, looking ahead to next year. And there's several different manufacturers that are constructing these chassis. Duquesne, as we see here, as well as Ligier, and then Gineta's got one, and maybe Ades is the other one. I think that's right. Anyway, I think there's 4 options. New power plant as well, so something everyone's going to have to adapt to here in the North American market, but it's one where we've heard there's a lot of interest in running an LMP3 even this year, but a lot of teams are waiting to get that new machinery, invest in something new, and then have that for many years to come.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Here's a look at the number 1. We were talking about Christensen earlier and a problem there, just overshoot the brake zone just a little bit. But yeah, I think there was kind of a pause in the P3 field this year. If you wanted to come in, you weren't going to invest in current P3 machinery only to have to invest again in 2026 in the new machinery. So I think teams sitting back and going, okay, let's think about this. We want to be there. We're going to get our program lined up, but then we're going to step in 2026. And we've got some different formats in the racing next year as well.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. You have this format that has become traditional. I think it's safe to say MVP Racing SportsCar Challenge, shorter single driver races, no pit stops, but there will be a handful of 2-hour endurance races where drivers and teams can get some practice with running longer distance races, doing pit stops, doing driver changes, everything that goes along with that, which just makes this a more attractive proposition as a training ground for teams, drivers, mechanics, etc., with an eye on getting to the WeatherTech Championship at some time in the future.
It'll be interesting to see. Right now, those 2-hour endurance races, we'll call them, because they will require pit stops and driver changes. Right now, it's slated only for P3 machinery, but there is an asterisk at the bottom of all of that that says GT cars may be added, or additional cars may be added. I believe that we're going to see probably, I would guess, the GTDX cars added to that. And then what you've got is a little mini WeatherTech Championship deal. Teams with their GTDX cars that run in the WeatherTech Championship will have an opportunity to practice pit stops, practice driver changes, get some longer running on the cars with their mechanics and their drivers. And it's a great stepping stone. The P3 car limited to VP Racing SportsCar Challenge, not in the WeatherTech Championship, but I kind of have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to see 2 classes.
I would love to see that. I know, I don't have any intel. I know at one point there was some consideration for even some touring car level cars, manufacturer built customer touring cars. I know BMW's got a new offering that's coming next year, and that was something that had been considered, and then you have to believe both GT4 and GT3 would be considered, given that they're already a part of this series. But I think we'll just have to wait, along with everyone else, to see exactly what the future holds when that announcement is made. All we can say definitively is that LMP3 will be there, and then you'll have kind of 2 separate championships almost. You'll have an endurance championship plus the more traditional sprint races, and then an overall that combines the 2. So that presumably gives teams a chance to pick and choose the format that best fits their needs.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I've watched IMSA build a lot of things over the years, and everything gets built up. You know, I haven't seen a lot of things have to be reimagined and start from scratch and start over again. So whatever they do, I think they've got a pretty good formula in mind, and they'll work that formula. Speaking of good formulas in mind, Brian Thenis aboard the 77, he is the bronze driving champion in the P3 category. He's had some good runs this year, and an impressive career when you look at it. Brian's been around for a while and does a great job in the car, and he's been consistent. And the reason that you win championships and you run up front, you have podium finishes, even up against these young kids like Valentino Braselton, is because you're smart, and that's what I watched just a moment ago. He knows where he is on the racetrack. He's like, I'm in 4th. I'm not going to catch Fakiri in front of me. but I'm not going to damage my car either with a late move on a GT car into turn 6. And he sat and he waited and said, okay, discretion being the better part of valor, I'll pass him down the straightaway.
Well, that's a 61-year-old compared to the guys in their 20s,
I wasn't
right?
going to throw the number out, but yeah, that's experience.
Correct. And look, there's a reason this is now his second consecutive Bronze Cup championship in this series. He did it last year as well, and has run in the top 3 in the points in terms of the overall points in each of the last 4 years, including this one. He's going to finish second place to Valentino Catalano in the season-long points when you combine everybody, even the Bronze Cup, with the rest of the LMP3 field. And he's run well. He's been on overall podiums a number of times, including against some relatively deep fields. I go back to Circuit of the Americas, where he was runner-up in a pretty deep field there on that particular day in race number 1. He's been really steady all season long and certainly deserves his flowers.
Oscar Tunho down the hill one more time, and he just went past the number 8 of Kiko Porto down the back straightaway. It gave you an opportunity to see 2 class leaders in the same shot. You see Porto there at the top of the screen aboard his number 8, the white Toyota, and Tunho has done an exemplary job. I think the thing about Brian Thenis is it is the perfect example of what this series is about. You got Valentino Catalano, Oscar Tunho, a little bit older than Catalano is, but guys that are trying to build their career and use this as a stepping stone, as a ladder. And then you got drivers like Brian Thenis who go, I love racing prototypes. I don't want to do it in the WeatherTech Championship. This is the perfect opportunity for me to go have fun, race a prototype, single driver format, all about me, go run and have fun. So 2 very different views.
Yeah, but it is a great combination, as you say, for that reason. It can be a launching pad. It can also be a destination, a place to close out your career. I mean, we've seen guys like Memo Ghibli come here and run in years past as he tried to resuscitate his racing career. That was an important component for him. So, yeah, it's a really interesting mix of drivers and backgrounds. And I think, again, it's found a clear niche within the IMSA ecosystem, and that's why we've seen it grow year on year.
And you see it at GSX. Here's the perfect example. Kiko Porto, your champion, leading here today. And other end of the spectrum, Frank Depew, who wants to get time. It helps him with his Michelin Pilot Challenge program. It gives him time out on the racetrack, and he gets to go have fun. So again, kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. And, you know, for the guys on the Frank Depew side of things, it's a chance to see where they stack up against some of the young guns, and on their day, go and race with them, have a good result in the overall order. But that's also why the bronze subcategory is there, to recognize those that are a little bit more advanced in life experience than racing experience.
You know, it's really interesting. Years ago, talking to some of these drivers, however you want to think of them, pro-am drivers, gentleman drivers, and whatever you want to call them, drivers who don't make their living doing this, and some with more experience behind them, like you were saying. One of those drivers was a guy named John Pugh, who ran with Mike Shank a lot with when it was Mike Shank Racing, not Meyer Shank Racing as it is today. And I remember talking to him, and we were talking about perhaps a different tire for the pro-am drivers versus the pro guys. And he goes, absolutely not. I don't want another tire that's going to make me better and put me closer to them. I want to be closer to them because I do a better job. I want to measure myself against the pros. And if you give me something that gives me an advantage, it's not a fair measuring device.
Sure.
So like you said, a lot of these guys just want to say, hey, where do I stack up?
Well, the chance to race against guys that I think are going to be big stars in the future. You could say, I raced against Kiko Porto in 5 years' time when Kiko's going to be, I suspect, a household name racing at the GT3 level or higher. So, yeah, long has it been so in sports car racing, where your amateur enthusiast has a chance to be on the same stage as the top athletes in the sport. It's unique in motorsports, certainly, compared to stick and ball sports, to have that chance. And I think it's part of the appeal of sports car racing.
I would agree. Oscar Tunho, going to have fond memories of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta as he returns to the series here. We talked about he was last with us at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and as he comes down the hill, he'll notice the white flag at the starter stand. One more lap to go here in the finale for VP Racing SportsCar Challenge. And what was... It's the white... He
lost a wheel.
He lost a wheel.
This is the second time that's happened to him while running at the front this season. The one race at CTMP, same story. On the final lap, loses a wheel, and through comes the champion-elect, Valentino Catalano, to the lead.
The commentator's curse. He took the white flag. I said he was going to have fond memories of this racetrack. He had a huge lead, multiple seconds in hand over Valentino Catalano, took the white flag, and immediately a wheel departed. Take a look. It was at the bottom of the shot. You could see it. It's the right front. You could see it kind of slide out, back and forth. He feels that coming through that final corner. He's like, guys, something's wrong. And they're like, nothing's wrong. You're on the white flag. And then I could see the smoke.
That is unbelievable. It is uncanny, because this is the same thing that happened to him at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
I was just getting ready to say that. The last time we saw him was there, and he had a problem. And this has been smooth sailing all weekend long, but that was not true. But it is for Valentino Catalano. What a way to bookend a championship season as Valentino Catalano takes the win in the final round of 2025. And it just cements the championship for him.
An improbable win, but a deserved one. How about this? Jake Walker will close the season with 6 straight victories, takes the top step of the podium yet again, and comes home second in the championship in the first year of GTDX.
Think about that, 9 wins on the season for Jake Walker. That's impressive, and maybe even more so, where is Kiko Porto? Because I'm not going to give it to him yet. There it is, across the line, and he will bookend the season as well. Champion, race winner, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He and Jake Walker, but very different outcome at the end of the season for Porto versus Jake Walker.
Goes to show you can't afford to have a bad weekend in VP Racing SportsCar Challenge. Jake Walker had a miserable one back at Daytona, never could overcome it.
Yeah, that's really the difference in the season. There's Valentino Catalano, your champion, and like I said, champion in European racing as well. He was champion in the Prototype Cup Germany in 2024, and I believe he did that with Oscar Tuno.
Yep.
I believe that was his teammate when he won that championship there. So what a great season. And 2 drivers in the shot there that could celebrate the victories today. For Adam Adelson, he's going to be frustrated. He's a champion, and that feels special to him, but he's a racer. Yesterday, he could say, yeah, I wanted to protect my championship today. He wanted that race win, and it just, I don't think he had the balance in the car.
No, it didn't look like he had the pace, quite frankly. Did well both races to jump from second on the grid to take the lead, led some laps, and put up a tremendous fight, but Jake Walker was not to be denied today.
Kiko Porto, that usual smile that he has on his face when you see him in the paddock, I can almost see it inside the cockpit of that number 8 right now, and Oscar Tuno's got to be going, are you kidding me?
Yeah, just looking at the scene of the crime effectively there, and I mean, it is a mirror of what happened at CTMP. DNF 5th place from the front of the field. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable indeed. Great racing this season, and certainly this weekend. Take a look here at the unofficial results. Valentino Catalano, when we say unofficial because we know Frank Depew had that mass issue as we were talking about yesterday. Catalano takes another victory. He bookends the championship, won the first round at Daytona, the final round here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and Jake Walker, 9 wins on the season, but comes up short in the championship. Like you said, every point counts.
It does. I don't know that either Walker or Adelson is totally happy with the way that this turned out. The race winner probably disappointed because all the wins and you don't get the championship. The champion unhappy because he's gone quite so long without a win.
Right?
Yeah.
Kiko Porto, well, he doesn't have anything to be upset about.
No
Race
complaints.
Win, championship, no complaints at all. And for that Rafa Racing team, Ian Porter right there in second. And for Porter, I got to get these guys to change names next year if they're on the same team and in the same program. For Ian Porter, what a great debut season in the IMSA paddock.
Yeah, he was tremendous. Won the bronze championship, of course, and jumps Stephen Clemens today with Clemens' misfortune as well to take second place overall in GSX points.
Thoughts on the season?
Fantastic stuff. Started with a bang in Daytona. Never really slowed down, did it? Great way to cap things off here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
So looking forward to 2026. 2025 was an awesome season, and the racing today was just exemplary. It really showcases what this series is. It's a growing series. It is one that the drivers absolutely love. It'll have a little different complexion next year, but it'll have the same great racing. I'm Brian Till for Ryan Marine. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in 2026.